What's going on, folks? Your boy again, Dr. Sean Thomas, back in the building with the Be More Today show. We are back. We are back. We are back in the building. And folks, it is April still. We are here in the month of April, enjoying the rain, but still enjoying life. And we're just happy to be alive and to be part of the Be More Today movement. As always, this show has continued to grow and strive and thrive now in our fifth season of the Be More Today show. And it's been amazing just seeing the progression of the movement for people just going out there and doing great things. Be More Today's show is heard now in 82 countries, over 58,000 downloads. Again, thanks to love and support. This show continues to be out there, pushing positivity, but also informing the world about what we do in terms of health and wellness. And today is no different. So, as always, any questions about what we do, BeMoreToday.com has my book. Our More merch store, as always, has our swag on there. And if you want to be a part of the movement, always email me, info@bemoretoday.com. I will get back to you about the guests on the show or about anything that's positive going out there. Our Steps to Greatness Challenge, my book, and my new book coming out this fall called Project More, which I'm super excited about. Our quote for today is simple as always by Samuel Johnson. What we hope ever to do with ease, we must first learn to do with diligence. What we hope ever to do with ease, we must first learn to do with diligence. Now, this month is special. It's Occupational Therapy Month, and we always like to celebrate and highlight those who are doing great things in the world of healthcare. As you know, the company I work for and work with for the last now 10 years, Jag Physical Therapy, is one of the best PT places out there. We are the leaders in terms of health and wellness, PT, OT, ATs in the Northeast, over 145 offices, and we're doing great things in our community. But one of the things that we love to highlight are the specialties that we have in our company. And occupational therapy is one of those didactics that is so key to the healthcare and the rehab structure that we have here in the world. And a lot of talk goes around about, what OTs do, what PTs do, what ATs do, the similarities, the differences. And I just got to say, the quote from today is poignant because everything that we do as clinicians, whether it's PT, whether it's OT, ATs, we always want people to go out there and to do things with ease. But it takes discipline and it takes diligence to get these things done. And as occupational therapists, one of the things that I admire about them is that there is such patience that comes when they have to work with their patients. There is a beauty to it, a rhythm to it, almost like a dance to it, really. When I look at the way that OTs work with their patients to get them back to their quality of life. We're talking about emotional components. We're talking about physical components. It is really beautiful to see it. And I have two of the best OTs in our company, Jag PT, on the show today. I have Brianna and I have Kara, who's here. And I'm just so happy to have them on the show. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, pets included, please welcome to the stage our two guests as we celebrate the OTs around the world for OT Appreciation Month. Brianna and Kara, ladies, what is going on?
That was an intro. Whoa,
Beautiful.
the hype. The
Thank
hype
you
is so
so much.
real for OTs. We love that.
The
I
hype
love that
is
you
real.
included the pets too.
Oh no,
I know my
so
dog is
cute.
listening at home, so
Listen, pets need love too. Pets need love too, right? They're always listening to everything like kids, so we got to give them some love.
absolutely.
We gotta give them
Absolutely
some love.
love that. Love that.
So
Awesome.
thank
Well,
you so much for having us, Sean.
Yeah.
Thanks for the introduction. My name is Brianna Knox. I'm the manager of OT services for Long Island at Jag Physical Therapy. I've been working in as an occupational therapist for almost 8 years. I'm coming on 8 years, and I've been working in a variety of settings with different patients all across their lifespan. The youngest being 6 months old, the oldest being 101, and getting them back to the life they love, or so with JAG's motto, which happens to really fit with the OT flow. So I also have worked in different settings, outpatient being the most, and I've worked in home care and assisted living communities as well. So I've kind of seen it all. I've dabbled in pediatrics, but I wouldn't say it's my favorite setting. I do like working more with the neurological population, people with Parkinson's, multiple sclerosis, and different types of strokes, things like that. I do love that kind of rehab, and I do work with the upper extremity as well. I'll turn it over to Kira, who will introduce herself and what she does in the OT world.
Awesome.
Okay, so I'm Kira Carrigan. I'm a newbie OT, so I've only been working for 2 years. And I know 2 years probably sounds like a lot for a new grad if you're listening, but it's really not in the grand scheme of things. I'm learning something new every single day. And yeah, you feel like a baby in this world, but you also see how far you've come just in 2 years, which is amazing. So I started working with Bree 2 years ago. She hired me, and I was working in our neurological clinic. So a lot of strokes, traumatic brain injuries, MS, Parkinson's, um, and it was fantastic, and I absolutely loved it. I had the great resources for it. And then I actually moved out on Long Island, so now I'm in a different clinic, and now I'm delving more into orthopedic based occupational therapy, which is a lot of hand and wrist injuries. So I still do treat some neuro, but now I'm going into a whole different spectrum and it's awesome. That's why I say I'm learning a lot still. And I definitely learn a lot from the PTs that I have here and obviously from Bree. But yeah, 2 years out, I went to the University of Scranton. Shout out Royals if you're listening. And yeah, I'm really just finding my specialty now. That's the mode I'm in. So I cover
Love
it all.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Late, thank you for sharing that. That's so great for us to know your backgrounds and what you've been doing. And one of the things that I always get questions from my patients as a PT is, what is the difference? What is the difference between PT and OT? My script says PT, but I'm going to OT office. I can't be seen, or vice versa. What is the difference? And I love when I allow the specialists in their fields to share what the differences are. So can one of you just share with me what you believe and what you share with your patients, the differences between what PTs do, what OTs do? There's a lot of overlap clearly, but there are
Definitely.
some things that are very, very different. So I want to just highlight those for OT month.
So this is the never-ending question, and the question of all questions. So I always try to say, like, in terms of the difference between PT and OT, like you said, there is a lot of overlap. It's all about going back to our original learning in school and how we approach each diagnosis, each dysfunction, each disability. So I kind of go about it as saying, like, OTs are more of a generalist and PTs are more of specialists, in a way where if you have a shoulder injury and you say tear your rotator cuff, you go to a physical therapist, they address your shoulder, they stabilize your rotator cuff, and you get better. If you tear your rotator cuff, you go to an occupational therapist, because you're allowed to see either or, depending on what your doctor says, depending on how you advocate for yourself, and say you're a baseball player. You want to get back to baseball. So occupational therapists kind of break down the tasks that you need to complete, such as throwing, batting, pitching, and we look at all of the body mechanics, the science behind movement, and we get you back to throwing the baseball without dysfunction. So we kind of break it down as an activity versus as a shoulder per se, if that makes sense. Even though we know all of the anatomy, we learn a lot in sciences, and we have kind of a similar educational background in terms of the anatomy, the kinesiology, and that kind of thing. It's all about the way that we break down the activity to get you back to doing the activity that I think sets us apart in our mindset of how we approach each diagnosis. I don't know if
Definitely.
Kira has any other examples.
Yeah, it's really when it comes down to it, it's really just more functional based. So we've been instilled in our entire education that OT is just holistic. You're looking at the whole person and you're looking at everything that affects their diagnosis or their condition. You're looking at what they can do, what they can't do, how to enforce it, how to upgrade, downgrade. You're looking at the entire person, and that's really what you're treating. So let's say someone comes in for a total knee replacement for a PT. PT is looking at that total knee replacement, stabilizing it, strengthening it, getting it back to the mobility that they need. Where OT is looking at, okay, well, now you're having difficulty going up and down the stairs. You can't bend down to go and put your socks and shoes on. You're having difficulty pulling up your pants because of it. It's different approaches in the set of PT is going to help you get that function back, where OT is going to teach you how to use the function to do your daily tasks. That's a huge part of it. And that's why I think PT and OT work so well hand in hand. It's like you can't have one without the other when it comes to these type of injuries. And it's just so crucial for that interdisciplinary team to work together and know who's doing what, who's treating what, where are you getting them? Okay, you got them here. Now I'm going to take them here. You got them from point A to point B. Now I'm going to point C. It's a good collaboration, and it works really well with the right treatment plan. And that treatment plan obviously includes the patient, their goals, what they want to get back to. And it's really just a huge collaborative effort.
Yeah.
I think it's, we wouldn't be able to do some of the stuff we do without the PTs and vice versa. So it's a huge, huge collaborative effort.
Yep, completely agree. It's exactly how I share it with my patients as well. The function versus activity of daily living component to it. And yeah, I mean, our mindset is pretty much, yeah, let's get this knee moving, let's get this functionality in there. And once we get that, our job is done. So, whether going to an OT or if someone's going to a athletic trainer or something else that could be after that, that is how these things should run. And I always say community over competition, because that's exactly what it is. It's not about competing. It's not about any of those things. It's about making sure that patients go down the right channels to get what they want to get done, and making sure that it's done in an effective way so that they can get back to doing what they want to do. And yes, get back to the life that they love. And I love when it comes together, when the communication is there. I mean, the hospitals are different because all specialties are together and they're actually able to talk about cases. We don't really have that so much in certain offices, but in some offices, like maybe even yours, the PTs and OTs can actually talk about patients together. I miss that. We don't have that in the office that I work in Georgetown, but I know Marine Park does, and offices have those things. So when it happens like that, that's clockwork. That's amazing because patients can be really seen from all angles about how we get them back to what they want to do. And together, it just makes it just really, really work. So is that how you guys are operating out there in terms of PTs and OTs working together with patients,
On
or is
Long
that?
Island,
Yeah.
on Long Island, there are, I think, 13 offices, 5 of which have OT, or 4 have OT. One we do home care, but we do
Okay.
have a lot of communication in our home care division between PTs and OTs.
Love it.
So the offices that do have the combination have really good rapport with each other and work on getting the patients back to doing everything that they need to do. That's meaningful to them. I
Yeah.
will say that our hardest thing is advocacy and making sure that patients advocate for themselves with their doctors to make sure that they understand the value of receiving OT, say, after a knee replacement, because a lot of the times the doctors are like, oh, well, you get 120 degrees of knee flexion, you're really actually perfect, you can be discharged from therapy. Meanwhile, that patient has 6 stairs to get into their home, has only 1 handrail, has a whole flight of stairs to get into their basement, and now they can't do their laundry and they're not actually independent in all their activities, although they have that range of motion back. So we as OTs have a lot of communication with doctors as well as patients and having the patients advocate for themselves to be able to actually take advantage of these services that are available to them, because one, a lot of people don't know that they can. And 2, we want patients to be as independent as possible and return to their prior level of function. So we make sure that we educate our patients, we educate our staff, and make sure that they can swing the bat, so to speak, for our patients and that they get the services that they need.
Yeah, another part of that is a lot of times people don't even know what occupational therapy is. They've never seen occupational therapy in action. So there'll be a lot of times where I'm doing balance activities, or we're both certified fall prevention specialists. So we're teaching patients how to avoid falls in their home, making home modifications, or just teaching them general, ambulation, balance, stability, all that kind of stuff. And I'll have a patient across the room see it and be like, oh, what's that? Like, I would like to do that. Like, I have problems going in and out of my house too, or I have problems standing up from a chair or getting out of bed. And I'm like, so I go over and I advocate for myself. I do have to say, I'm extremely, extremely lucky. The PTs that I work with are huge advocates for occupational therapy. They absolutely love it.
Yeah.
And going back to what we said before, we definitely come hand in hand. So every knee replacement that comes in here, they're being treated by PT. And then I take them for balance and we work on more like home-based activities in the clinic. So it's a hand in hand. We see them right after one another. And a lot of patients have started to become more aware about what occupational therapy is once they see it. That's the problem with if we're not having OT, like you don't have an OT in your clinic. So a lot of patients could be missing out simply because they don't see it in front of their eyes and understand what's going on. So it's huge for us, especially on our JAG social media page. They're doing a fantastic job of getting all of our activities out there and like literally putting OT on the map, which is great. And it's just another way to advocate. And when it comes to insurances and stuff, people are always unsure of what services they do have and what they don't have. And just a simple conversation with your PT, with your doctor, whoever's going to let you know if OT is an option for you. It's just something to start, something to have, just so you know your options and take advantage of it. If you feel like you're not ready after being discharged from PT, you can always come see an OT and address those issues with us.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I completely agree with that. And I think the exposure for patients and just people to know what OT is the same challenge that we had as PTs. I mean, it's the same concept, right? Even years ago, everyone was, oh, I gotta see a chiropractor, and that was just it. Chiropractor is for everything, and PT wasn't even brought up. You know, it was like, what do PTs do? So we continue to have that fight, continue to advocate, continue to advertise what we do, how we do, and continue to even lobby, right? We talk about going to Albany and just sharing what we need. I'm sure OTs are doing the same thing when it comes to the profession at large to make sure that it is put on the map. It is getting the respect that it deserves. It is having the funding and the reimbursement that it needs and requires. So, my question for you now, both of you, is looking at the profession, how it is growing, how it has grown, where it's come from. What are some of the challenges that you're seeing when it comes to OTs, not just in terms of exposure and sharing what you guys do, but maybe even in terms of the growth of the profession, where it's going in the next couple of years, where you see it going in the future. What are your thoughts on the OT profession as we talk about OT month?
So the profession itself has been growing. A lot of the programs are switching over to doctorate programs in the next few years. I think by 2025, the majority of programs are going to be becoming doctorate programs. I know that a few of the ones on Long Island that have been working towards their doctorate accreditation have actually gotten approved, which is really exciting. A few of the bigger schools like Stony Brook University just got approved for their doctorate. NYIT a few years ago got turned over into a doctorate program. So things are kind of turning in the doctoral direction, which honestly, I think, even though it shouldn't, it gives the profession a lot of backing to support what we do, why we should get reimbursed the way we do, and even why we should get paid as such. I mean, you always don't want to talk about that stuff, but we do this to make a living, and we want to be able to support our families and step into a career that can take us a long way. So I do think that's really going to help bridge the gap in terms of even just the PT-OT dynamic as well, because we'll all be on a level playing field instead of being master-based versus doctor-based. I even have had patients in the past say, oh, well, I only wanted to see a doctor. Meanwhile, I have my master's degree and 8 years of experience, and some of these doctoral students are brand new out of school, and they do say doctor in front of their name, but it doesn't always mean that they have the experience to back up the degree yet.
Right.
Not to say that they won't eventually, but it's just one of those things that it's very hard to change that narrative because I have a master's degree. But I do think it's really exciting for the profession as a whole to switch over to the doctoral degree. And we actually have had a few students already that are finishing up their capstones and will be some of the first on Long Island, at least, to graduate from a facility with a doctorate in occupational therapy, which is pretty cool.
It's pretty cool. It's very similar to PT. I mean, you guys were masters as well, and you guys had to fight and advocate for yourselves and prove that you guys could actually help people, heal people, get them back to where they are. And that's exactly what we're going through. I mean, as a newer profession than PT, we're just following your guys' footsteps. We're taking the same reins that you guys did and trying to advocate for ourselves. I feel like another huge part of it is a lot of times, I mean, I guess it depends on where we're treating. OTs can treat everywhere from, in schools, outpatient, inpatient, hospitals, whatever. But a lot of the times we're looked at as just hand therapists, which is very funny.
Right.
But, and don't get me wrong, that's what we do. We love hands, love hands. But there are so many other aspects of what we do, whether it's neurological, developmental. And I think that's going to play a huge part when it comes to that doctorate program is like exposing the general public and honestly doctors. A lot of doctors are unaware that there is so much more to OT than just hand therapy. So I think that's going to be the new wave of OT is like crawling out of that hand therapy bubble and just
promoting full function.
Exactly.
I always explain it to like when you walk into when you have to go to the bathroom, right? We do take a perfect ADL toileting. You have to, one, walk to the bathroom, get up from whatever surface you were sitting on, walk to the bathroom, unbutton your pants, redo a zipper if you have buttons or zippers, to untie a tie if you have a drawstring, like pull down one set of pants, pull down another. You need to sit down. You need to reach
Mm-hmm.
around,
Mm-hmm.
use trunk rotation, grab toilet paper. Like there's so many steps, and that doesn't just involve your upper extremities. The majority of those tasks involve your trunk, your lower extremities, and
Yeah.
your upper extremities. You know, function is full body. It's from head to toe.
Yeah.
So I always teach, you know, all of the therapists that come through our doors that you don't let other people dictate your scope of practice. You dictate your scope of practice. Nobody went to school for OT. You went to school for OT. Like
Mm-hmm.
you have to be able to know back and front what is in your practice framework. You need to be able to speak that language. I sound like my professors. Like at the time I didn't believe it, and like, you know, like you're like, okay, 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 and you like just like learn the information and you're just like so focused on getting through. But like it is really, really important to know what you are capable of and be able to tell people what OTs do. Because if you don't know, they won't know. And most
Mm-hmm.
people don't know.
Yeah.
So you have to be able to explain exactly what you will do with a patient and why. And it can be as simple as going through the breakthrough of how to toilet
Yeah.
and what you need to do, because
Yeah.
people don't even think about the trunk rotation to reach across or the opposite way. What if you're only one-handed because you had an injury to your hand? Or what if you had a stroke and now one whole side is damaged? Like, how do you do these tasks independently? So a lot of it is really just, you know, making sure that the profession is acknowledged and respected, and then shining light on the fact that we don't just work with the upper extremity, we work from head to toe.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I mean, I gotta say, I've been treating for 13 years now. When we went to school with our OTs, I went to downstate, so we were in classes with OTs for a number of classes until we split off and did other things that were specific for our professions. But so much of what you just said right now is exactly what it is. And even as a clinician, 13 years out, I'm not thinking about any of that stuff, kind of stuff. I'm just not. I'm thinking about, let me make sure your knee can move. Can you sit down? Can you stand up? Can you walk 150 feet? Great, right? You just talked about a whole bathroom situation that literally that we put it in our diagnosis, we put it as our goals, you know, but when it comes to what we're actually doing in the clinic, I'm not showing anyone how to do any of those things. That's not what we do as PTs. So OTs are integral when it comes to those activities of daily living. We talk about ADLs all the time, but you guys really have that on lock because you go through the minutia of it, the details of it. And I think that needs to be highlighted more, even as PTs talking to patients about what they should be doing after, even during their treatment with us. And, you know, I think it's hard with the insurances where depending on what state you're in and depending on what the insurance is, you know, you can't see PTOT on the same day. That's crazy. And it just makes things even more complicated to have someone who wants to get better, needs to get better, to have to be able to split up their treatment between days, between specialties that are so aligned properly. We just have a lot of things to work on in terms of the healthcare system, but I just am happy that you guys are putting that thing out there and sharing with the community what OTs do and how great OTs really are. So kudos to you for all those things. Kudos. Um, my bigger question for you now is, I know that, you know, all specialties, MDs, PTs, OTs talk about the emotional component to therapy. And we talk about it a little bit in PT school. I'm sure MDs do it also in medical school. But when it comes to OTs, you guys go a little more in depth when it comes to the emotional side of rehab. And I'm just curious, um, looking at the current caseloads you may have now, looking at patients who are coming now out of COVID-19, and all the emotional stress that we went through during that time, and patients now coming back into our clinics and coming now to see specialties like OTs, like PTs. Have you seen any more challenges when it comes to working with patients who now come with a different kind of emotional, not the word baggage, but a different kind of emotional background coming out of COVID-19, now being introduced to being incented with people again, now facing some of their own fears when it comes to getting back to the life they love, but also dealing with some just more intense or more complicated emotional issues that they didn't have before. What are your thoughts and reactions to the emotional stresses you now see with patients now coming out of COVID-19?
There are a lot.
Yeah.
There definitely are a lot. And I think I value our education so much because a huge part of our education was mental health awareness and psych. So we really laid in heavy to psych and how to deal with patients' emotions, whether they're, have a flat affect or they're all over the place, they're crying every 2 seconds, or, we're kind of almost trained to do that. One of our clinicals as a requirement is to work in a mental health rotation. I was lucky enough to be on actually a lock psych unit at Mount Sinai Beth Israel in the city, which was pretty wild, but it taught me so much and how to deal with different types of mental health, mental illness, emotions, and it really varies person to person. It depends how that person is going to react to you advocating for them and opening up with them. Following COVID-19, a lot of people secluded themselves and kind of, didn't go out, didn't make an effort to keep in contact with family members or friends, kind of put themselves in their own little bubble, which unfortunately leads to a sedentary lifestyle. So if you're not talking to anybody, you're not going out, you're not being out in the community, and you're not taking advantage of what's out there because of something as tragic as a global pandemic, we find that we are sitting on the couch 3 hours a day. We're not getting up from bed. We're sort of developing this anxiety, this depression that really limits our function. If you're not feeling good enough to get up and do something and go out and interact or participate in community integration, you're going to want to sit on the couch all day. That unfortunately leads to, atrophy, weakness, no motivation, and it affects you physically. So your mental health and your physical health are directly linked, and you can't have one without the other. So coming from COVID-19 and the pandemic that really put us all in a complete state of shock, to trying to get that life back, trying to get out more, we don't really realize that, okay, already 4 years have gone by, 4 years of sitting on the couch, not having motivation, not talking to people. It takes a toll on your body. Your body's aging whether you like it or not. So you got to either keep up with it and find resources that can help you, or you're stuck in this, oh, I'm just not going to do anything and not interact with people, which is just not a healthy lifestyle to live, unfortunately.
Yeah. So one thing I always I learned from one of my clinical instructors when I was in school. She told me that the first year of your career, you should spend learning people, their personalities, learning how they tick, learning what makes them drive, what gets them to get out of bed every morning. She said, when you learn people, treatment will come.
Yep.
And I, for some reason, decided to take her advice. And I spent that entire first year just studying people, their personalities. And like Kira did say, OT originally started in mental health. OTs were actually originated in token societies where they had this is years ago, where people were put into psych communities where they had to have good behavior, they'd earn rewards, and OTs were there to help them get back into gardening, work on things like community integration, and that's originally where it started. So our background is very heavy in mental health, and we learn a lot about the psychosocial community. So when she told me to learn about people and their personalities, I was like, oh, that's almost a no-brainer, no problem. And I thought I knew people, but boy, was I wrong, So now having all of that knowledge, then working on my treatment and seeing people coming out of COVID-19, I'm still seeing it in the home care settings. We have a few patients that still have not left their homes since COVID and rely solely on home care to help them get better. Meanwhile, these are the types of people that were retired. They were going out in the community. They went to every supermarket you could imagine that day to find the best deal.
Right.
But they don't realize the impact that had, because they were walking miles a day, 1,000 to 10,000 steps just by going through the store, whether it was pushing a cart or not. That literally has a big impact on your health. Going to the mall, socializing with friends, going out to eat because they, every day is a Friday. I'm just jealous, but it's one of those things that they didn't realize the impact that had. I saw it with my own grandmother. She always went to the dollar store, this ShopRite, Wallbounds, whatever, supermarkets. That's not even a thing anymore. Stop and Shop. But she went to all of these stores, and her health, meaning she has COPD, her oxygen intake declined. She has to wear oxygen now all the time. She walks with a walker or a cane at times because of the lack of mobility from being, you know, we also told her, like, don't go out of the house, you can't get COVID.
Right.
So we were a part of that as well. So like it'll also change like family dynamics. You know, we care so much for our loved ones that we didn't realize that we were kind of putting them at risk, but we didn't know any better at the time because we were trying to listen to who we thought were the professionals, you know, and doing what we could in that moment with the knowledge we had. So I will say that it definitely had a huge impact. A lot of people have different types of trusts and different types of people because of it, and I kind of understand why, but that's a whole nother topic. But it created a lot of fear and animosity towards different things, and that also impacts social, physical health, you know, mental health. So I would say it definitely had a huge impact on what we do as therapists.
Yeah. You know, it's
On the
funny.
flip side of that,
Go
on
ahead.
the
Yeah.
flip side of that, now I feel like so many people are just so appreciative to even be in therapy.
Yeah,
it's like a
Right.
social hour for them. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? They like,
Yeah.
you know, you're talking to the patient next to you and you're like, oh, I went through this too. I had a knee replacement too. I had a hip replacement, or
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
it's now it serves a whole different purpose.
Yeah.
Therapy is completely changed post COVID. The
Right.
way
Yeah.
you interact and the
Yeah.
environment you create for your patient facilitates friendships, interaction, social interaction. Oh, they're doing hurdles. Oh, I want to do hurdles too.
Right.
I want to do
Yep.
that too. You know,
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
it's a fantastic environment now post COVID to see people use this as their social
Yeah.
hour, but
It
also
became
get so much
it
better.
became somewhat of a safe zone too.
Exactly. I
Yeah.
love it.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
love it.
This is pretty
I
cool.
was just gonna say the same thing. So at our clinic, and it's funny you mentioned that, 'cause I was just gonna say that it
Reading is
has
nice.
become that thing where people are literally coming because they know their friends are gonna be there at the same time they're gonna be there. I have one patient who comes in, I can't say his name clearly, but he comes in and he tells jokes.
Sure.
And literally every time he comes in, he has another joke.
I
Now
love
I
it.
say another joke, but he comes in with a piece of paper. He writes down his jokes during the week. So when he comes in, and everyone knows when he comes in, he just starts
Yep.
telling the jokes. What did this person say to that person? He comes in, he just goes through the list of jokes. And literally everyone starts laughing because they look
That's
forward to him
awesome.
coming in. They look forward to him coming in, showing up, and he literally goes around the room. He works the room, shares jokes
That's
with
awesome.
everybody. Everybody starts laughing, joke, 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 joke. He
Amazing.
feels great. They feel great. And then he hops on the bike and does his thing. He does this. He's been doing this now for weeks at a time. And when he's not there, people notice.
Oh, of
And when
course.
he is there, he feels so much better. So yes, I
Yeah.
agree with you. The level of connection now that has
Yeah.
happened when people coming in, it goes beyond just the therapeutic realm for physical health. Now we're talking
Sure.
about really emotional bonds and really emotional ties that people are now sharing because yes, isolated for so long, they want to be around people. And I think it's beautiful. And I think that the
Yeah.
challenging thing for me is that even though we have that greatness on that end, I think there is still a number of people who come in with more mental issues than we expect. And
Sure.
sometimes it comes off as a problematic patient in parentheses, but really they're coming in because they have some issues that they're dealing with, whether they
Right.
are emotional or just really, really deep down issues that they're still trying to kind of get through that might not always be able to verbalize. But
Sure.
you know, when someone comes to the front office and they're angry about something, you know, sometimes it's not that they're angry about the copay. Sometimes they're dealing with something that's an emotional issue that they're trying to deal with. So, you know, I think as clinicians, I'm sure you guys see this as well, being able to adapt in those situations and to really know, like you said, Bree, to
Yeah.
know people. I mean, knowing people is that thing. If you can know people and know that everyone who comes to that door is going to have some kind of a problem already, some kind of an issue already, so that when a person comes to the door and they're angry about something, you can look past the anger and see, well, this might not even be related to a copay issue or to like an insurance issue or to an appointment change issue. It's really that they're dealing with something that is greater than that. Let's bring them inside and see what's going on. And the front office, our PARs they always laugh whenever a patient comes in and they're super angry and they go into the gym and they leave and they're totally different. They're like, yo, what happened back there? What just happened in the back? And I explained to them, I said, this is bigger than what you may see when you first see somebody at the door. The whole process is a thing that when they come in and we can sift through all the real issues, we can get their pain levels down, we can talk about the emotional components, the physical things, and they leave with a smile on their face. that is therapy. That's what
Definitely.
therapy is supposed to be. So I'm
Yeah.
sure you guys see that as well, but I just wanted to share
Absolutely.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, well, it starts with us as OTs and PTs to give our patients the environment and the confidence to indulge that and actually explore those emotions. I mean, it all starts with the environment you provide for your patients.
You know, and we're all energetic beings. We feel through others, you know. So if we have a really big smile on our face, if we're emanating positivity, if we're coaching them through and cheering them on and being the best cheerleaders that we can be, you know, as they go through, like, oh my God, your form is amazing. Like, I can't believe that you just did that. You stepped over that hurdle for the first time, you know, and you kind of build them up. There's no other way for them to leave besides at the top.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I
Completely.
also have to note, Sean, your workout classes during the week, that's also a huge, huge contributor to that post-COVID activity level increase, like getting people involved in stuff like that. I'm always, always encouraging people, like, find a workout class, go on a long walk with a friend or a family member, like try Pilates, try yoga. Why not? Like, try something that's gonna, one, enhance your physical health, two, while enhancing your mental health. And I think the workout classes that you put on every week are just absolutely insane. And I commend you for it because it helps so many people.
Yeah, well, thank you very much. Yeah, that class is fun because it's a combination of patients who are discharged who they don't want to go to a gym because they feel comfortable being where they've been for the last, number of months working with us. Some patients who are still actually in therapy, but they want to do more things, so they come and it's safe for them to come. And then friends and families of those patients who've also come and been a part of it. And to be honest, we start the class at 6 o'clock. They're there at 5:45 a.m. Monday and Wednesday. They're there before I am in the parking lot.
I believe it. I believe it.
And it's amazing how diligent and how committed they are to that. And that also becomes the extension of what we talked about. People coming in, community, bonding. They have their own WhatsApp chat that I'm not even a part of. I don't even know what's happening on the side. But yeah, they have their own community that now has become a part of that thing. So yeah, I think if all clinics and clinicians could do something like that, just to keep that bond going, that would be amazing.
Great.
Yeah, that's really wonderful.
So, ladies, any final tips you want to share with aspiring OTs, with people who are still learning about the OT profession and how amazing it is, or anything you want to share in terms of anything new that we haven't talked about as we close out this OT Appreciation Month?
So for future OTs, I do have to say, like I said, if you don't know what OT is, you're not going to look into it. So if this can reach younger people, that would be a huge, huge deal, strictly due to the schooling that occupational therapy goes through. Now, I was very, very lucky. I was very fortunate. My sister had received occupational therapy when she was younger for various learning disabilities. She received it in school. So I was fully aware of what OT was. I absolutely loved it and I knew I wanted to do it. I was able to make that decision before applying to colleges. So I went to the University of Scranton in Pennsylvania, which is a 5-year program. So I went for my undergrad for 4 years, and then I only had a year and a half after graduating as a senior to get all of my master's done and finish OT, because we started OT classes when we were freshmen. Now, typically how it works is you would go to college for 4 years, and then you would do a post-grad occupational therapy program, which could be anywhere from 2.5 to 3.5 years. Now, it depends on where you're going and what school you're applying to, but that's a large chunk of time to be spending in school. Now, I was starting, my clinicals and in the workforce when I was 24. And there were other people at the same exact space as me and same exact time. And they were like 27, 28. And so it really is important to know, if you want to do occupational therapy, how to approach it, whether you want to do the post-grad or you want to start on an accelerated program. I know Quinnipiac has one as well. So that's a huge thing to know. That is the one regret that a lot of my friends had, because they had wanted to transfer into a 5-year or accelerated program for OT, and they weren't able to. It was too late. So that is the one tip of advice I think.
We at JAG, we take on all volunteer opportunities for people that want to explore a career in occupational therapy. we try to find the best fit within our clinicians, the best locations. We even do some in home care. A lot of it too is like just exposing people to different settings and different options so they can see if it's really something that's right for them. We have had volunteers that have seen occupational therapy and decided that it wasn't for them, and we've had a lot more that decided it was. But it does make a difference in the path you want to take. Everything is very expensive, so the more the better off you'll be in the long run. And as well, like for different students and different programs that are already accepted into an occupational therapy program, like I always told, I had a hard time when I was in school finding placements. Our school had a hard time finding placements for occupational therapists. And I told myself that if I ever get into a position where I have some control over that, I will never turn away a student as long as we can fit them. So if your school is having trouble finding you placements, please let your school know that JAG Physical Therapy is open to taking occupational therapy students. And reach out, also contact us on the website, and we'll make sure that we can get you set up and have your school have a smooth path towards graduation.
Also, CODAs, occupational therapy assistants. We love you.
Yeah.
If you want to come shadow, come say hi, come see if outpatient is right for you. Please come. We're happy to have you.
Yeah.
Awesome. Ladies, thank you so much. I mean, you made this show one for the books, and you made the OT month celebration one for the books as well. So I appreciate you. I salute you both for the great work that you're doing, enhancing our profession, enhancing the healthcare rehab profession at large. And yeah, like you said, let's just go out there and continue to let people know how great OTs are. I mean, your contribution to healthcare and rehab has been tremendous and continues to grow. And I'm excited for all the things that are happening. I mean, the doctoral program is super exciting. Put some respect on that name. It needs to happen. Let's get that thing done. Yeah. And yeah, I look forward to seeing you both hopefully in person sometime soon this year.
So, I hope so.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ladies. And listen, folks, they said so many poignant things, right? They talked about the OT profession, and the quote really does bode well for what they talked about by Samuel Johnson. What we hope ever to do with ease, we must first learn to do with diligence. Being diligent in terms of doing what you have to do, looking at the details. To get back to what we want to do, right? Yes, get back to the life that we love. We know all those things, but really putting that thing into motion and looking at what we have to do to go from point A to point B, whether it's going to the bathroom or getting back to work or whatever you want to do in life. OT can really help you do those things. So any questions about those things, talk to your MD if you need OT. If you're looking for the OTs in your area, again, go to jagpt.com. We are everywhere in the tri-state area, so you can always find us for sure. And just continue to, if you know anyone who's in OT or has been in OT before or looking to go in OT school, celebrate them this month in April as we celebrate OT month. We appreciate all of you for the great work that you do and continue to do in this world. So thank you so much for joining on the show. We appreciate you so much, and we'll see you next time. I charge you to continue to be more in 24. We'll see you later. Peace.